Good morning and welcome to the next short video in the Ahargana series. In the last tutorial, we had taken a peek into Surya Siddhanta and seen the astronomical parameters which the Surya Siddhanta defines in verses 29 to 34. Now in this verse 29, it begins by saying in an age, within brackets yuga, the revolutions of the sun, etc. are 4,320,000. And I had pointed out that this number 4,320,000, I plugged it into the GeoGebra model and constructed the geometric model of the entire Surya Siddhanta. But the question arises, what is this yuga? I did not explain this in the previous tutorial. So in this tutorial, I will go into this topic of yuga. This takes us to large time frames over and above a solar year. In fact, using the solar year as a basis. So let us take a look at what is this yuga and what is the story around it. So you know that there are 9 manas in Surya Siddhanta, defined in Surya Siddhanta. And we have focused a lot on saura mana and chandra mana. We have also seen a little bit of nakshatra mana. And we are embarking on savana mana, but now I am going to take a break and take you in this tutorial into 3 more manas called divya mana, brahma mana and prajapatya mana. Because these pertain to yuga. These pertain to large time frames. So let me start with divya mana. Divya mana is all about the time frame of the gods, not humans. And the imagery is, and we have actually already seen this in an earlier episode, that one divya dina is nothing but one devayana. Now, we have seen this in an earlier episode that a devayana is a period when the sun is entirely north of the celestial equator. That means from Vasanta Vishwat to Sharad Vishwat. Similarly, one divya ratri is one pitrtayana, when the sun is entirely to the south of the celestial equator. That means from Sharad Vishwat back to Vasanta Vishwat. We had seen this in the episode where I introduced the idea of pitrupaksha and explained why pitrupaksha is celebrated around the autumnal equinox in late September. So the idea there was when the sun is in the northern celestial sphere, since the northern celestial sphere is consecrated to the gods, this is a day of the gods, and that is what divya dina means. It's a day of the gods. And when the sun moves to the southern celestial sphere, it is a ratri of the gods, and it is a day of the pitrus. But what we are focused on here is the day of the gods and the night of the gods. So the imagery is that one devayana and one pitrtayana put together become one divya ahoratra. An ahoratra is an entire period including a day and a night, the combination, the full cycle. So if you look at this, one divya ahoratra consists of one divya dina and one divya ratri. That means one divya ahoratra is nothing but one sayana saura varsha, because a devayana and pitrtayana means sun starts from the Vasanta Vishwat and makes one full revolution, comes back to Vasanta Vishwat, and that is a varsha, a sayana saura varsha. So the concept which is being created here is that the gods live on a different plane. Everything is different for them, including time. So what is a dina for them, an ahoratra for them, is actually an entire year for us human beings. A sayana saura varsha, a solar year, but a sayana, which is affected by precession of the equinox. So we spend one entire year, whereas for the gods, it's like a single ahoratra, day and night combination. Taking that idea a step further, you have the idea of a divya varsha as 360 divya ahoratra. So this is a very common tradition. As you can see here, it's there in the Surya Siddhanta also. Today we say 365 solar days make a solar year, but in the olden days they went with 360, kind of coming from geometry, 360 degrees of a circle. So one divya varsha is 360 divya ahoratra. That means one year of the gods is actually 360 years of the human beings like us. And this divya varsha forms the basis for even larger time frames which are described from here onwards. So let us now go into the explanation of the even larger time frames. And to do that, I am going to start from the largest time frame called lifespan of Brahma. And these definitions which I am going to give you now are classified as Brahmamana by Surya Siddhanta. And I'm going to do this in a top-down manner. I will start from the top and start drilling down into what is inside each one of these large time frames. So the largest time frame given in Surya Siddhanta is an entire lifespan of Brahma, and that is 864 billion divya varsha. Divya varsha is the basis for all these definitions from now onwards. If you want to convert this to solar years, you have to multiply by 360. As simple as that. But the Surya Siddhanta specifies all these in terms of divya varsha. So what is this lifespan of Brahma? The lifespan of Brahma is divided into two halves called parardhas. So you have prathama parardha and dvitiya parardha. And our tradition says that we are living in the dvitiya parardha of Brahma. Adya brahmanaha dvitiya parardhe. That means I am recording this video and you are viewing this video in the second parardha of Brahma. So what is this parardha? What is inside a parardha? So if I open dvitiya parardha, you see there is something called Brahma varsha inside that. Wonderful. You know what a varsha is, a year. Conceptually, it is not a problem for us. And how many Brahma varshas are in a parardha? I am showing you here number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc., up to 50. There are 50 Brahma varshas inside a parardha, inside the dvitiya parardha. Same way there are 50 inside the prathama parardha also. Brahma varshas 1 to 50. So if you look at the numbers, lifespan of Brahma is 864 billion divya varsha. One parardha is 432 billion divya varsha. And that has 50 Brahma varsha. So one Brahma varsha is 8 billion 640 million divya varshas. To convert into solar year, you have to multiply this again by 360. Now let's look at what is inside Brahma varsha. I have underlined the first Brahma varsha because our tradition says that we are living in this first Brahma varsha. So let me open that and see what is inside. And you can guess what should be inside there. Brahma masa and 12 of them, which is very similar to actually what we have in the Christian calendar today. So these are very common ideas which seem to have been prevalent around the globe at some point in time. So if there are 12 Brahma masas, then each Brahma masa is 720 million divya varshas. And our tradition says that we are living in the first Brahma masa. So what is inside Brahma masa? Again, you should be able to guess. I am going to open this. There should be Brahma Dina. But a day of Brahma, Brahma Dina, is called a kalpa. More specifically, the daylight hours of Brahma is called a kalpa. And the night time of Brahma, the Ratri, is called pralaya. And they are of equal duration. And how many of this pair are there? You will again find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 30. Obviously, there must be 30 days in a masa. Very, very common concepts which are today even present in the Christian calendar, except Christian calendar it is 30, 31, 29, 28, etc., etc. Whereas here in this Brahmamana, it's flat 30 kalpas make up a Brahma masa. And these kalpas are given names. For example, the first kalpa is Shweta kalpa. It's also known as Shweta Varaha kalpa, Neela Lohita kalpa, Vamadeva kalpa, Ratnantara kalpa, Raurava kalpa, Prana kalpa, Brihat kalpa, Kandarpa kalpa, Sadyota kalpa, and so on and so on. These names are not very standardized. Different ancient Indian texts will have some variation. Some different names may be used here and there. But our tradition says we are living in this first kalpa, Shweta kalpa or Shweta Varaha kalpa. We all know Varaha avatara, but Shweta Varaha is a white wild boar, which is not very usual. And now finally comes a time frame which is 12 million divya varsha. Much simpler than these numbers of 864 billion. This is just 12. 12 million divya varsha is a kalpa. So let us now look at what is inside a kalpa. Again, kalpa is like the dina of Brahma and pralaya is the ratri of Brahma, and our cosmology says that during pralaya period there is utter chaos. There is complete dissolution of all creation because Brahma is taking rest, Brahma is not paying any attention. But during the kalpa, everything is in order because Brahma is in charge. So what is inside Shweta kalpa? So let me open Shweta kalpa because again our traditions say that we are living in the Shweta kalpa. Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya parardhe Shri Shweta Varaha kalpe. Our traditions don't really explicitly talk about the Brahma varsha and Brahma masa. So inside Shweta kalpa, what do we have? Now you come to the next set of calendric elements which Surya Siddhanta classifies as prajapatya mana. And that starts with something called manvantara, and there are 14 of them. And they are preceded by one small period called Adi Sandhya, and that is 4800 divya varsha. And then by mathematics it works out to the manvantaras are 856,800 divya varsha each. And once again the manvantaras are given names. Swayambhu manvantara, Swarochisha manvantara, Uttama manvantara, Tapas manvantara, Raivata manvantara, Chakshusa manvantara, Vaivasvata manvantara, and so on and so on. Savarni manvantara, and after that it kind of simplifies Daksha Savarni manvantara, Brahma Savarni manvantara, Dharma Savarni manvantara, Rudra Savarni manvantara, Deva Savarni manvantara, Indra Savarni manvantara. 14 manvantaras with one Adi Sandhya make up a kalpa. And our traditions say that we live in the Vaivasvata manvantara. So Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya parardhe Shri Shweta Varaha kalpe Vaivasvata manvantare. So now what is inside Vaivasvata manvantara? Let us dig deeper. So I open Vaivasvata manvantara, and that is manvantara proper followed by something called a jalaplava. Jalaplava, as the name indicates, is only water, deluge, floods, a great flood which destroys everything. Unlike what we saw as pralaya, which is complete dissolution, this is only a flood. Relatively speaking, it's only a flood, jalaplava. And that is again 4800 divya varsha, similar to this Adi Sandhya. But the manvantara proper now has become 852,000 divya varsha. Good. Now what is inside manvantara? Finally we come to yuga, which is more specifically called as mahayuga. And how many of them are there? I show you here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It goes on and on and on. 71 mahayugas are there inside one manvantara. But the interesting part is each mahayuga is 12,000 divya varsha. So you come down from 864 billion to 12,000 divya varshas now. The numbers are becoming simpler. So once again our tradition tells us that inside mahayugas, in Vaivasvata manvantara, we are in the 28th mahayuga. But before I open the 28th mahayuga, I want to show you a ratio here. So let me open the first mahayuga itself. And you see the very familiar division of Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Everybody is familiar with these terms. And they are in the ratio of 1:2:3:4. in duration. That means Kali Yuga is 1200 divya varshas, Dwapara Yuga is 2400 divya varsha, Treta Yuga is 3600 divya varsha, and Krita Yuga is 4800 divya varsha. This is a 12 times table. 12 times are 12 times are 12, 12 2s are 24, 12 3s are 36, 12 4s are 48. 1:2:3:4 ratio. And also I would take this opportunity to point out to you that the Mahayuga is 12,000 Divya Varsha, whereas Kalpa is 12 million Divya Varsha. This is an interesting ratio because basically it seems to indicate that a Kalpa consists of 1,000 Mahayugas. But that is not strictly true because there are these things like Jalaplava which is sitting there, which upsets the calculations a little bit. So it is something like, I think 996 Mahayugas make up Kalpa, but the ratio is 10 times. That a Kalpa is 10 times the duration of a Mahayuga. Good. Now let's go back to our tradition. So we are living in Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya Parardhe, Shri Shvetavaraha Kalpe, Vaivasvata manvantare, Ashtavimsha Dithame. Ashtavimsha is a number 28. And Dhita is a cut. So you chop, you cut, you come to the 28th piece, that is 28th Mahayuga. That is where we are living today. Ashtavimsha Dithame. So let me open this Mahayuga. Now the story we have already seen 1:2:3:4, but I will explain it to you in greater detail to you here with a little bit of imagery coming from our traditions. So if I open Kali Yuga, what is inside that? Once again, it is constructed of something called Yuga Sandhya, the Yuga proper, followed by another Yuga Sandhya. And in this case, it is 1000 and the Sandhyas are 100 each. Dwapara Yuga is similar, but it has become 2000, 200 each. Treta Yuga is similar, 3000, 300 each, and Krita Yuga is similar, 4000 is the Yuga proper, preceded by 400 Divya Varsha Yuga Sandhya and succeeded by another 400 Divya Varsha Yuga Sandhya. So now the ratio is even more obvious, 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, 1:2:3:4. Now this 1:2:3:4 is mathematics. It's called ratio. But in our traditions, it is presented in a much more stylistic manner. What we say is, what our traditions say is that Krita Yuga was a wonderful period for humanity. And during Krita Yuga, there was complete righteousness, complete justice, peace, everything was fantastic. So if you take the concept of dharma and you personify it as a rishabha, as a bull, and the rishabha has 4 feet. And the bull, the dharma rishabha, is established firmly on 4 feet. And that is what I am showing here. The feet are pada. Pada is feet, you know that. So in Krita Yuga, there was 4 padas. Each pada is 1000, 1000, 1000, 1000. But when you come to Treta Yuga, dharma is now standing on only 3 feet. Pada 1000, 1000, 1000, only pada 1, 2 and 3. When you come to Dwapara Yuga, it becomes even worse. Now dharma is standing only on 2 feet. The dharma, the bull, the rishabha of dharma is almost crippled. And when you come to Kali Yuga, it's left standing on a single pada. So the imagery of 1:2:3:4 in mathematics, not the imagery, the presentation of ratios in mathematics is constructed in a very stylistic fashion in our traditions, as dharma is personified as a bull, righteousness is a bull, and it has 4 feet in Krita Yuga, but it degraded over time. So I'm connecting mathematics and the imagery, or rather the other way, I'm taking the imagery from our traditions and showing you how our astronomers converted it into mathematics. in Surya Siddhanta. So this is the idea behind dharma as 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet and 1 feet. And our traditions say that in Ashtavimshaditame, we are living in Kali Yuga, Pratama Pade. We are not in the Yuga Sandhya. We are not in this Yuga Sandhya. We are actually in the Pratama Pada. There is only one Pada here, but there are two Sandhyas, right? So you have to distinguish. So that is what our tradition is talking about. So if I start with Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya Parardhe, Shri Shvetavaraha Kalpe, Vaivasvata manvantare, Ashtavimshaditame, Kali Yuge, Pratama Pade. This is the large cosmic time frames, and our astronomers have taken this idea of mahayuga, 12,000 divya varsha, and taken it into astronomy. How? I will show you now. Let me bring up a calculator right now. And why am I bringing up a calculator? Because I am going to take this mahayuga duration of 12,000, multiply it by 360, and you get 4,320,000. And that is exactly what we are dealing with here, 4,320,000. It is there in the Surya Siddhanta, and that is the number I have used here, 4,320,000 revolutions of the sun. So from these traditions, which are cosmological traditions, which are found not only in Surya Siddhanta, but they are also found in many of our Puranas, including the Mahabharata, everywhere it's stated, or Manusmriti, and many of the Puranas talk about this. From these traditions, the astronomers have picked up this idea of a yuga and the duration of a yuga, and then made it an integral part of their astronomical calculations. This is how we specify the orbital periods. Instead of saying the sun completes one orbit in 365 days, we say that in a yuga, the sun makes 4,320,000 revolutions. It's both the same thing. This is 365 days and this is 4,320,000, but this is what is specified in Surya Siddhanta. So scholars speculate that cosmological traditions existed much before Surya Siddhanta was written. But the author of Surya Siddhanta, whoever he was, took those cosmological durations and then brought them into astronomy. And that tradition was followed by subsequent astronomers such as Aryabhatta, Varahamihira, Brahmagupta, Bhaskaracharya, everybody. They continued with this tradition. So this is the idea of yuga. It's not just a yuga, but there is so much behind it. There is the parardha, there is the kalpa, there is the manvantara, and then there is the mahayuga and krita yuga, treta yuga, etc., and ratios and proportions, etc., etc. So with that, I will close this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching.